Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another week here with us at Delta Racing League. And what a week to join us you have picked. It is the season finale, the race that every other weekend has building up to. It's all coming down to this one race. Here in the Empire State, we are going to be at Watkins Glen, and it is going to be an interesting race if practice is going to be any basis on what we're going to be seeing in qualifying and in the race. A lot of the field set in 145s, and they are pretty much right on top of each other, save for a couple of race leaders here. We're just waiting for the session to tick over to qualifying, and we will get started over watching some cars set some laps here at Watkins Glen. It's going to be 3.5 mile circuits, 3.45 miles to be precise, 11 turns here in New York, and it doesn't sound like a big number, but just like Laguna Seca, the low turn count does not necessarily an easy track to drive make. So it is going to be interesting to see how all of the drivers handle the challenges that this circuit can present. Albeit I'm sure they'll be enjoying every second of it. It is a very, very fun track to race at. It's got a lot of nice flowing complexes that just it's like sailing through some of these corners, especially turns like 3 through 4 leading up into the inner loop. Is that what that first chicane is called? Yeah, the inner loop. You basically just have to keep your right foot down and steer the car and hope you got the line right on the first try. Otherwise, you're going to get passed on that back straight. And it is taking a little while here for the officials to get the last of the cars off of the track so we can begin qualifying here at Watkins Glen. So let's go ahead and take a chance here while we've got it, and I'll probably continue this through qualifying to talk a little bit about the standings we're looking at, seeing as it is going to be the final race of the season. And it is there are a couple of pretty close battles here that will certainly be interesting. One that we will be keeping our eye on is going to be between Jeff Spangler and Matt Byrne for second and third, just shy of 30 points between them, 22 to be exact. And that could mean a lot of legwork for Matt Byrne if he wants to finish in second overall. He will need, basically, well, based on practice, John Casagina is going to finish in first place. We'll see how his qualifying session goes, so that has already been knocked off the table. But in order for Matt Byrne to finish in second place overall, he will need to finish in second, which would mean that Jeff Spangler can score no higher than 6th place in this race in order for him to take that position away. But as I'm saying that, we are now starting to have cars go around the track. So why don't we go ahead and go take a look at that. Give me just 1 second here to get things transitioned over. And it is going to be Andrew Sear out on the track first to begin our qualifying session. He's going to have to get his tires up to temperature here in order to actually set a hot lap, as he was just let out onto the field. But looking at his championship here, Andrew Sear currently sitting in 6th overall and very, very close to Ross Sparrow up in 5th place. 257 points for Ross Sparrow, 241 for Andrew Sear. And that is only just a couple of positions apart from one another to decide who is going to finish in what place. And that is going to be P5 and P6 that are going to be battling over. And Watkins Glen can be a tricky track to try and pass at. So it is going to be very important for both of those drivers to have a strong qualifying session and get as far up in the grid as they can before this race starts. And he is coming around the final bend now, crossing the start-finish line, and he will be beginning his first qualifying lap here. And let me go ahead and fix the tower here. We'll do that. And we'll also come over here and put that there so we can keep track of his telemetry as best we can here. But coming up around the first corner, foot planted, you want to keep an ear out for that engine note just so you can hear if the driver had to lift or not. And Andrew Sear has braved that one out, kept his foot down. Now he's got a nice long straight here, leading up into the inner loop here. Can be a very tricky chicane to negotiate, but he's handled it no problem into the outer loop. A lot of finesse needed around that corner. He comes out a little bit wide, but manages to keep it on the track. Coming into the boot now. Ooh, almost out on the dirt there, but keeps it on the rumble strip there on the inside. Coming around the, I believe that's the toe now. Yep, up the hill. All right. Doing an excellent job of sticking to the racing line here. Andrew Sear definitely driving this first lap like he knows it counts. And he will be our first qualifying time. He is the first of the grid to come across. It's going to be Evan Toth behind him. All right, now around the final bend, we will have an idea of what our first qualifying time is going to look like. And it is going to be a 144.7, a strong appearance from Andrew Sear with a starting lap there. Evan Toth is going to cross the line now and set a 145.1. Hayden Hasselbrock coming across the start-finish line now with the new fastest lap of the session, a 144.1 as the time to beat. Let's actually throw their personal bests up here. There we go. Try and keep track of who's doing what on the track. Xu Chen currently sitting in second place with a 144.3. Let's take a look at the 911 car. John Casagina coming around for his first hot lap of the session. Actually, I believe he's still warming his tires, seeing as he's not set a lap yet. We will know here momentarily coming around the final corner. We've got Jeff Spengler up in second place now with a 144.1, and that was Jean Casagina's out lap there. So we'll check back in with him in a little bit. Let's take a look at Evan Toth under a little bit of pressure right now. Looks like that is Ryan Yee behind him. Let's see here. Excuse me, no. That is Ben Burchett. Oh, we got a question in the chat about the race format today. Yes, it is a sprint, and I believe that just means we've got the qualifying session into a 1-hour race. Let me double check that. Yeah, 15-minute qualifying followed by a 60-minute race with a mandatory stop for fuel and a 10-minute pit window. And tires are going to be optional for this race. Evan Toth coming across the line last lap with a personal best is going to be a 144.895. Let's check in with Andre Alfonso here, currently on a very, very strong lap. Right now sitting just shy of a second faster than his previous best, will be in the 145s for this lap. Comes across the line, sets a 145.252, moving him up into the top 10 in P9. Brad Plamadon also on a pretty strong lap here. Let's take a look over at him coming around the second to final bend now. New fastest lap of the session is going to come across the line right in front of him. That's going to be John Casagina, setting a 143, the first 143.667. Brad Plamadon with a new PB. That's going to be a 145.565, moving him up into 12th place. Let's take a look here. Casagina actually on pace right now to set another fastest lap of the session. So let's actually go ahead and take this opportunity. Let's watch how he is doing it. We'll throw it up in this screen here. Right now riding on board with Casagina coming into the boot. Looks like he's catching up to Ben Burchett there. No. I'm actually not sure who that is out in front of him. Let me see here. It's be the number 56 car. It's Ryan Garrity. But he still has that purple border. He's got almost 3/10 on his previous time coming down the straight, now into the toe. And he has caught up to traffic. We'll see if he's able to get around it without losing too much time. Oh, and he's gonna abandon the lap there. So we will check back in with him later. Let's take a look over at Matt Byrne in the McLaren, actually right behind them, getting a pretty good look at the scene in front. It does look like Casagina does get around the other car there. And now Matt Byrne, a second and a quarter up on his previous best. Now 1.3 seconds. Can he make it 1.4 before he crosses the line? It is going to be close. It's looking like he'll get it. He crosses the line with a new personal best. It is going to be a 144.467, moving him up into 5th place. Jeff Spangler currently sitting in P3, though. Not looking good for the upset there, moving him into 2nd place for the overall standings. But let's take a look at Max Sunkenlap now. 4/4 of a second, or 4/4 of a second. Wow, that was smart, Matt. Half a second up on his lap, now 6/10 coming into the toe. We've got a couple of yellow flags. One is going to be transported back to the pit lane. There's actually going to be John Casagina there in the inner loop. Max Sunkenlap hanging on to that lead on his personal best, and I believe invalidates right there. But we will see. No, the lap time is still green. Now 8/10 up in the Delta. Looks like he's closing up on Steve Poe, and that is going to be Timothy Jabadal right behind him. A little bit on the inside. Oh, I don't know. He loses some time there, but hangs on to the lap. It's going to be 6/10 improvement. Definitely going to be enough for a couple of positions gained here. Now 3/4 of a second, almost 8/10 as he crosses the line. With a 145.395, moves up 4 positions into P15. Let's see what a P15 finish means for him. Let's move the cameras first over to Brad Plamadon. Brad Plamadon right now currently sitting P16 in the AM split. Pretty close in points here with Max Sunkenlap, actually. So, and as Brad crosses the line and moving himself up into 13th place with a 145.162, applies a little bit of pressure there to Andre, or who was it that we were just watching? That was Max Sunkenlap, excuse me, currently in P15. Gonna need to post a little bit of an improvement there if he wants to hang on to that P15 finish. Aaron Alexander going to cross the line now with a half-second improvement, moving him up 2 positions into P15 with a 145.302. And Andrew Sear also going to cross the line here with an improvement. And it is enough for 2 positions gained, moving him up into the top 5 with a 144.277. Got a little bit of traffic here behind Max Sunkenlap. I don't think that's anybody's fault, just some awkward timing on the grid here, but we're gonna keep an eye on it. Looks like the Porsche behind is going to let Casagina pass. Not a lot Sunkenlap can do here. Definitely doesn't want to abandon his lap, but it doesn't look like he may be on an out lap here. Yep, and he's gonna dive to the inside to allow Casagina around, who is somehow still hanging on to a purple lap here by just a couple hundredths, getting unsettled there on the outside. It's gonna mean he has to try it again, but still, rough entry there, and there goes the Delta. He's going to have to try and gain that back elsewhere, but Jeff Spangler also on quite the lap here, exiting the boot now and going into the final 2 corners. 0.34 up in the Delta would be enough for 2 positions gained, moving him up into 2nd place. Let's see if he can hang on to it. Coming around the final bend now. 1/4 second in the Delta and growing. And he will definitely get it. And it should move him up into 2nd place, and it does with a 143, the second of today. 143.792, just a hair off of Casagina as he rounds the final first corner and invalidates the lap. Xu Chen also on a good lap here. Shu Chen also having a good championship, currently sitting P4, 294 points. Closest person to him is going to be Ross Sparrow in P5 with 257. So as long as he has a strong finish today, he will be sitting comfortably in P4, unless Matt Byrne has a rough race here. There's less than a 40-point spread there. We'll see what that becomes by the end of this race, but Shu Chen, rough couple of turns there, is going to lose his improvement. Oh, but finds 2 100ths around the final bend. Make that 3. He should be a new personal best. It is. Sets a 144.095, and he's going to hang on to 3rd place. Just 1 minute and 39 seconds left in qualifying here. And just to give you guys an idea of the distance, there we go, session best relative. Just to give you an idea of where the grid is all sitting to one another. A lot of people within a second of the race leader, but even more within a second of 10th place. So this should be an interesting race, and it looks like Shu Chen's going to go ahead and abandon that lap, followed by Matt Byrne. Take a look over at Michael Yaknis, trying to find 2/10ths, post an improvement. Only needs 1/10 in order to move up a position and take 7th place from Evan Toth. He is continuing to find the time. Ooh, but it looks like a rough run up the hill. Let's go ahead and take a look over at Juan Martins here, just as I say that. The green that was in the Delta leaves, the commentator curse strikes again as he comes around the final corner. Will he find a little bit of time on the corner exit? He takes it exactly, oh, just a slight improvement there of 3 100ths of a second. Will be a new PB though with a 146.580, cementing him in 23rd place. And Casagina, using every second he's got, a quarter second, 3/10ths now up in the Delta, is going to try and snag fastest qualifying lap as the max wait timer begins to tick. Ben Burchett also looking for an improvement, currently sitting in P9 with 2/10ths in the Delta. Will be enough to move him up into P8. Wow, now almost a half second. I don't know where he just found all that time, but he sure found it. And just a couple cars back from the car we were watching there, Casagina has found a half second, which will be a massive improvement. Depending on how much farther he can get, maybe enough for a P6 finish and displace Matt Byrne. Losing a little bit of time around the second to last corner, but still enough time to gain a position coming around the final bend. If he can just get the power down, let's see if he's got it. It looks like he will set a PB. It will be a 144.722, but not enough to move him up into 9th place. And Michael Yaknis will hang on to his position. Juan Carries crosses the line right there with a 145.092, a personal best, moving him up into 14th place. Let's see who else is on the track. It looks like car number 93, Juan Martins, will finish this qualifying session for us. And that is going to be our qualifying session, folks. Let's go ahead and while we wait for ACC to make itself a little bit more usable, there we go. Just got a little, I meant to do that behind the scenes, but I sure didn't. So there is the, there's our poster for the weekend. But that was our qualifying session. It's going to be Jean Casagina with a 1st place finish, but only narrowly. Just a couple of hundredths off of Jeff Spangler there. Excuse me, I had to gather myself for a moment. Let's go ahead and get over to the starting grid. If I could get control of my camera back. There we go. All right, now we're back in business. Sorry about that, folks. So again, congratulations to Casagina for the 1st place finish, followed by Jeff Spangler in 2nd, and Shu Chen to round out our podium. Let's go ahead and take a look at our starting grid here. Starting, if I do this correctly, there we go. All right, and it's on Shu Chen for the moment. But let's go ahead and walk the grid, take a look at where everybody is going to be starting from. And so that is going to be Casagina in first place, followed by Jeff Spangler in second. Shu Chen there on the left in third place. Aiden Hasselbrock in fourth. Andrew Sear in fifth. Matt Byrne in sixth. Evan Toth in seventh. Michael Yaknis in P8. Ben Burchett in P9. And Ross Sparrow there to round out the top 10, followed by Zach Doran in 11th. Timothy Jabadal in 12th. Andre Afonso in 13th. Juan Carries in 14th. Brad Plamadon in 15th. In P16 is going to be Aaron Alexander, followed by Max Sunkenlap in P17. Nico Roshkosh in P18, followed by Chris Rise in P19. Steve Poe in P20. James Morris in 21st. Ryan Garrity in 22nd. Juan Martins there in 23rd. Rob Jacques in 24th. Ryan Yee in 25th. And that is going to be, I'm sorry, it cut me off right there at the very end, Stubby McNubby in P26 to round out this starting grid. We've got just about a minute to go here before we get this race underway, so we'll just go ahead and take a look at that screen there for a little bit, get it focused on the race leader. Let's talk a little bit about the championship standings. Just looking at the starting grid, John Casagina, as long as he finishes this race at this point, will finish in first place, I believe. I said he can fit. Let's see how many points he only needs. Let's see. The most he can score is for Jeff Spangler. If he finishes in first place, is going to be 470 points right now. Casagina sitting at 459 points. So let's see. He only needs to score 22 points in order to stay out in front. So let's see how many that is. Looking at the scoring here. So he can finish in 12th place and still hang on to the first place finish overall. 20 seconds until we get our formation lap underway. And then we are just a couple of minutes here from starting the final race of the season here at Watkins Glen. And now we will begin our formation lap here. Hopefully the drivers will have made any of the final last-minute changes they needed to make after the data they collected during qualifying. And it looks like we already have one mechanical failure on the grid. It's going to be Ben Burchett that would have been starting in P9. Will now, unfortunately, be starting from the pits. Fortunately, it is no longer a lap down. Get my other cameras ready. There we go. And enjoy looking at those cars going slow around this part of the track while you can, folks. This will be the last time you ever see them going at this rate up and around these corners. At least for tonight. But we'll go ahead and take a look around the grid there. We see a couple of drivers going for the swerve technique to try and get some heat into those tires. I'm particularly a fan of the overfill the car a little bit and drag your brakes. Get some heat into the core of the hub of the tires. But to each their own. And look at that lineup of cars, folks. And one thing that is going to be nice about qualifying going the way that it did is that it will likely be stacked like that for a while here. It's going to be a 1 hour race, so there will definitely be time for the drivers to get separated, especially with there being a mandatory pit stop. But I think we're in for some interesting racing today, folks. That was a lot of very close qualifying times, followed by a practice session that was full of very close practice times, which should mean an exciting race for us here tonight. Andrew Sear will certainly be happy with that qualifying session. Ross Sparrow finishing down in P9, who is currently ahead of Andrew Sear in the standings. And only by a couple of points here. That is going to be a massive victory for Andrew Sear. Even if he finishes in 5th place, will move up a position, and actually may even displace Aaron Alexander as well with that time. Or excuse me. No. I got my names confused. No. Okay, hold on. Matt, be careful. You're saying some crazy things. Aaron Alexander, I was looking down a couple. Currently sitting P1 in the AM standings. We'll probably be looking at a different color license come next season. Oh, and Shu Chen is teleported to the pits, as is Andrew Sear. Uh-oh. And actually, we have all sorts of craziness happening around the grid. What is going on here? Me thinks we might have a race restart here, because it seems that the starting grid has glitched a little bit and teleported some of the drivers back to the pits. It would not be the first time I've heard of that happening, but on the last race of the season, I definitely think we need to see a qualifying restart, or a race restart, but I don't know if we'll get one, because as we are lining up on the grid, I do not... Oh, and there's the server reset. And so let's go ahead and take a look over at this. And so I'm going to have to try and get some stuff reset up here. So just bear with us, folks. A little bit of Kunos things happening there. So let's actually, let's go back over to this, and just so we're not looking at any dead space. But it wouldn't be a season finale without some technical difficulties, so just bear with us, folks. And let me, let's do this really quick. We'll throw this up here. And we're just gonna try and not be completely dead in the water here, even though it's not letting me adjust the font size, which is super cool. Thank you very much, OBS. I'm telling you to be smaller. There we go. How about that? All right, I'm gonna try and get this all connected back up. Just bear with me here, folks. And actually, let me go ahead and mute that, so we're not just listening to a helicopter fly in place. All right, looks like they are getting things set back up here, but we are going to be looking at this just for a little bit while they get everything sorted back out. And I believe they should have the qualifying standings. Once everybody gets in, they should be able to put them back where they belong. Trying to get everything connected back up here so that we can continue on with our evening as scheduled. Okay, we're getting the broadcasting software all happy again. There we go. We are almost there, folks. We're just waiting for the last of the people here to join back in. And I'm getting the last of my cameras running again. Although there is, seems to be a little bit of confusion on how the starting grid is going to work as we wait for the last of the drivers to get back into the server here. Well, I was not exactly prepared for this, so we are all kind of winging it together here, folks. And I wish I had saved a copy of the qualifying standings so we could have some hope of knowing where everybody was going to start, but I think they are trying to figure that out right now in race control. Definitely glad to be sitting in the seat that I'm in right now rather than the folks who are actually organizing all of this. So let's go ahead, everybody in chat. Let's get an F in the chat for everybody who is having to deal with this right now. And yeah, so the back of the grid was informed. Yeah, and there were a lot of people who were getting teleported to the pits anyways. So it was going to be weird no matter what. Anyways, F in the chat for everybody's having to untangle this mess just because of starting grid weirdness. After all, this is a video game, so things like this are bound to happen. But we should be getting going here in just a little bit longer. I think at the very least here, we might as well watch some race cars. So give me a second here. Let me get my cameras sorted out again. We might as well watch a couple cars get some extra practice laps in. There we go. It's gonna be Aiden Hasbrook on the camera now. Honestly, if I were any of the drivers and wasn't involved with trying to sort out this server issue, I would probably be doing what Aiden's doing right now, and that's just getting out on the track and trying to set some extra laps. Any practice is good practice. All right, I have been informed that they are not going to redo the qualifying session. So I'm not sure what that means for the starting grid. Oh, and I just realized, I'm sorry folks, I've had that muted. There we go, now we can listen to race cars too. And just to keep things interesting, let me go ahead and we will do that so we can see how well he's doing. Got a couple other drivers out on the track as well. Ryan Yee trying to get some practice in, as well as Chris Rise. We already know see Aiden Hasbrook out on screen, but he is actually closing up on Michael Yaknis. We may actually have a little bit of racing to watch, folks. Actually, as I say that, Chris Rise and Ryan Yee are starting to get into it a little bit. So here, let's throw this up. Why not? Let's have a little fun, chat. New fastest lap from Stubby McNubby. Gonna be a 150.1. And you know, let's actually, let's do this. Let's do that, and that, and that. Well, let's watch this race this way. Aiden Hasbrook going to set the new fastest lap. Oh, it looks like the Audi's actually going to dive out of the way there just as we go on board with Ryan Yee. Oh no, he's still there. Excuse me, or am I on Chris Rise? Ah, I am on Chris Rise's perspective there. That's what happened. But let's go ahead. Let's watch Ryan Yee. Nice long straight now into the inner loop. Double yellow on the circuit. Looks like Nico Roscosh under some pressure. No, that's the start-finish grid. Actually, and Ryan Yee gonna overcook it a little bit and put the car into the wall there. So let's take a look over here. We'll watch this battle. Oops, did I just click off of it? Or they separated more than I thought, excuse me. I mean, Nico Roscosh there, getting some extra practice laps in. I haven't heard anything from Race Control yet, so we are going to be watching some extra free practice. If you're just tuning in, we were about to start the race, and the game did some Kunos things, and the starting grid got all messed up, and people were teleported back to the pits. It was insanity. So we are trying to figure out right now how to restart this race as non-disruptively as we can. And in the meantime, watching a little free practice. I thought we had a yellow flag there, but it looks like Stubby McNubby just going a little bit slow around that corner, freaked it out a bit. Although Casagina catching up to him now. Oh, I saw the red number on Michael Yaknis, but it was just him going past the pits there. So let's keep an eye on Stubby McNubby as he is going to be under pressure here from Casagina in just a moment. There he is. And just because we haven't had an opportunity to do too much of this yet, and because I have the controls and nobody can stop me, let's do this. Let's watch Casagina here try and catch up to Nico Roscosh. Or excuse me, Stubby McNubby. Last lap there was going to be invalid. You can see Nico Roscosh there spun off on the run out, or runoff. Both cars, right foot flat up the hill. And Casagina, in that Porsche, just does not have the legs to keep up with the Aston. Not quite close enough for the toe. Coming into the inner loop now. Later on the brakes was the Porsche. Catches up to the Aston Martin in a bit of a lunge. Now just has the outer loop to compete with him. The Aston Martin doing an excellent job of holding on to his line. Oh, and there's almost, I believe there was actually some slight contact there between the Aston and the Porsche. Porsche looking for room to go around the long way, and he may have made the move happen. Now has the inside going into the toe and gets out in front of the Aston Martin and makes the move happen. See, look at that. There almost wasn't going to be any racing, and now there is. And actually, it looks like, actually, that was Ryan Yee there getting around Chris Rise, who is yellow flag just behind him. Looks like he just abandoned the lap. We've got Chris Rise, I believe that is out there. No, that's James Morris, excuse me, doing donuts in the runoff. You might as well. Stubby McNubby actually looking to improve his lap time. I don't actually believe it's set a valid fast lap yet. Let's see what he comes across the line with. That's gonna be a 148.8. There's gonna be a new personal best. And there's another yellow flag. Oh, that's the Porsche doing donuts out there in the runoff. Because again, why not? Most action Casagina will see all night after the race or the pace today. Yeah, he is notoriously quick in that Beetle, that is for sure. Ryan Yee going to set the fastest lap for this practice session, however, is going to be a 143.920. First 143 of the practice session. If only by a nose, but he's got it. Stubby McNubby now almost a second improved on his previous best lap. Not sure why the other drivers haven't opted to join the cars out on track, getting this extra free practice in. That's what I would be doing that right about now. I'm going to go ahead and check in Discord and see if there have been any updates here. It doesn't look like I see anything yet. But I'm sure they're still working on it. The other problem being we only have 22 of our drivers from, I believe, a grid of 26 earlier. Now Xu Chen getting out on the track. having just come out of the pits there. Stubby McNubby going to probably be able to get around him. But let's see what happens. Shu Chen getting very on the inside of the wall there, and now Stubby McNubby right onto the back of the Audi is going to go for the inside there and look for a pass here on the inner loop. Ryan Yee improve. Ooh, and Shu Chen going to put the car off into the run out. Abandon that lap. Ryan Yee continuing to improve on his previous best lap. So that's a 143.6. Okay, and there is the server reset again. So we're going to go ahead and go back to the pre-roll with technical difficulties present. That's going to have to do for now. But let me, I got to get my broadcasting software sorted out here. Go ahead and start working on that. And mute that just so I'm not I can't talk. Subjecting y'all to me clicking through menus. And hopefully we will have the server set up with the everybody in the proper order on race day. The boy can hope, can't he? Right. Let's see if we have a server back yet. I believe we do. And let's see what we're looking at here. Looks like most everybody is joined back in, and they've set them up with, yep, so some quick free practices. So let's get connected up here. Come over here. Go here. Where's my mouse over there? Hello. There we go. All right, they are cycling through the sessions right now to get us to the starting grid. That does mean we will have another starting timer and formation lap, but we should have a race here in just a little bit, folks. Thank you so much for your patience. There's certainly not a lot that we can do about random technical glitches, so for those of you who have chosen to stuck around with us, thank you very much. And we should have a race here pretty soon, as the as race control is just getting us through the process of getting us to the race here and getting us lined up on the starting grid again. Some of the drivers still choosing to use this time to get out and get a little bit more practice. Certainly cannot knock that. I've said a couple of times now that I would be doing the same thing. So what are we doing right now? Let's see. They've got it in free practice 2 now, and now we're just waiting for them to fast forward it into the race, I believe. So we do have all 26 drivers back now, though, so that certainly is that is a good sign. And just like last time, because we can. Oh, and there we go. We are actually back on the start-finish grid now. All right. And if my memory serves me correctly, everybody is actually where they belong. Holy hell. Or wait, maybe. Let's see. Chat is confused. Oh. Oh, no. The grid is definitely not right. Okay, so hold on. I gotta. This is bizarre. Okay, so let's look at this together. Let me unmute the. Let me get my control of my mouse again, and then unmute the game. But we now have Ryan Yee, followed by Shu Chen and Jeff Spangler in first, second, and third place, which definitely is not correct. I looked for Andrew Sear because I knew he finished in 5th, and that is not currently where he is sitting. So this is interesting. I think interesting is the word we're going to go with. Not entirely certain what the admins are going to do about this one, but I'm sure we'll have an answer here pretty quickly. But they also only have 2 minutes to sort it out. so I'm actually going to use this time to do something I have been wanting to do for a little while. Let's see if I can do this right. Over on my other computer. There we go. Let's see. I think that they are going to keep the random grid. That is going to be interesting. Yeah, I'm going to go with interesting. And they forwarded to another session. I am not sure what is going on here, so let's go ahead and we'll put us back over here. Yeah, well, I am not certain what is going on here. So if you folks wouldn't mind, I'm going to take a moment here and mute myself and my computer and go see if I might inquire as to what the plan for the evening is. So just give me 1 second, folks. I will be right back. All right, I am back. I did not mean to unmute that. So, but the race control is working on it. It seems as though there was a configuration error there in the entry list. So when we started this race, it did a whole bunch of horrible, terrifying things, and for example, removed the mandatory pit stop that was supposed to be in this race. So they are working on it. I believe they have identified the problem. So at this point, we are now just waiting for a game of musical server resets to fix the problem, and we should get this race going. Let's see in the chat, ACC does some weird things. God, I wish we had official servers. Yeah, that would be handy for sure. I don't necessarily know that it would have solved this problem. It just seems that sometimes games do weird, buggy things, and today just happened to be the day it was going to hit us all at once. Seeing as I think the only technical difficulties we had all season was one race that I didn't stream because YouTube did weird things. So we had good luck all the way up until the season finale. Just like I said when I was signing on, everything has been building up for this. So all of the technical difficulties are gonna hit today. Just seems to be how things go. But server is restarting right now, and I am going to see if we can't get connected back up to it and see if they've got this sorted out. It sounds like they may have also fixed the starting grid problem, so hopefully everybody will be where they belong when the server gets turned back on. All right, everybody's joining back in. I'm gonna get both of my games here set back up so we can have our cameras ready. All right, we should be back in business on that end. And now we just wait for the sessions to click over, and then we will hopefully have a race on our hands. Currently have 22 of our 26 drivers. Make that 23. All right, we're just waiting for the last couple drivers to join up here, folks, and then we should be getting going. There is just a handful more that need to join up. Yeah, and I do apologize about the delay, folks. We have been, if you're just tuning in, we've been dealing with some server-side issues with the game wanting to make people start from the pits without them needing to, and then when we tried to restart it, the starting grid was all messed up. So they are right now. Race Control is trying to get that sorted out so that we can get this race going. And so right now, the drivers are all sitting in pit lane, waiting for everybody to join up and having fun. Trying to get themselves disqualified by driving the wrong way in the pits. All sorts of shenanigans going on right now. Race is starting no matter what this time. We have gotten an update from the chat. So we should have a race here pretty soon. We are still waiting on one driver here. We have 25 of our 26, and then we can get this going. And I am, I gotta show you guys what is going on right now at pit lane. And by that, I mean horrible, awful, terrible things are happening at pit lane. Let's unmute it. And just kind of, this is what's going on. Little love tap there from Shoot Shen and Casagina there. And he is now driving the wrong way into the pit lane and puts it into the wall. It looks like Stubby McNubby is going to leave the pits into this. Oh, and looks like he's able to make him escape. Oh, but there's an Audi in his way that prevents him from getting out onto the track. Now Shoot Shen going to punish him for getting in the Australian's way. And it looks like he may take another attempt at it, but John Casagina starts doing donuts and backs right up into Chris Rise and Ryan Yee. Oh, and Shoot Shen full speed into the back of that Audi. Oh, and it looks like Stubby McNubby is going to be able to make his getaway. And we'll see if anybody chases him down. Now Matt Byrne. And is that... I forget. I know the name. It's right on the tip of my tongue. Both making their way out. And more people getting... There go all the penalties. All right, we should be going here pretty soon. Let me get control of my cameras. There we go, as we move forward to the next session. And should be looking at the starting grid. Let me do... Where'd my mouse go? Here we are. Do that. And that. And okay, all right. Get my mouse back. And that starting grid looks much better. All right. Hats off to everybody at the admin team in Delta Racing League. Race control, very underappreciated and not often mentioned, and certainly thankless job that they do, but they have kept this league running no matter what it took, including tonight, the season finale, running very late. Could have been just as easy to say, you know what, it's been a great season, let's all enjoy the rest of our Sundays, but they stuck it out, and we are going to get to watch our race tonight because of them. Huge thank you to everybody who helped make that happen. And now we are just waiting for the timer to tick down once again, do our formation lap, and we should have a race on our hands. And you know what? Let's do this, because I don't usually shill for it enough. If you appreciate everything the race control just did for us, go ahead and leave a like on the stream. Let's say thank you the best way we can. So if you're in here and you haven't hit it, do it now. All right, well, now that we know where people are and what they're supposed to be doing during the race, now that they're back in their qualifying order, let's see if we can't do a little bit. Actually, before I get too far ahead of myself, let's make sure this is all set up too. Let's get that on race gaps. Let's get our mandatory pit stop in there. We got their live speed sorted out. All right, cool, that's good to go. Let's get this camera over here good to go. All right, we're ready for the race. So let's go ahead and take a look over here. So Jeff Spangler starting in second place is a big problem for Matt Byrne. Now he is going to be more focused on fending off Xu Chen up in third place, who is currently only, let's see, Xu Chen at 294 points and Matt Byrne at 348. Strong finish from Xu Chen here. If Matt Byrne finishes where he does, will be enough for him to move up into third place and ruining Matt Byrne's podium finishing dreams here. So he is going to need to really drive today in order to hang on to his third place. But Xu Chen does not, I mean, especially starting from third place, really just needs to hang on to it, and he should get the points he needs to move up. And there we go. We're going to start our formation lap now. There we go. John Casagino is going to get the car going, and the starting grid is moving now. Just a couple of minutes here, and we will go ahead and start the season finale race here in the Empire State at Watkins Glen International. And this will definitely, it's already been an interesting race, but now we're going to hopefully have an action-packed one. And just so we can try and see as much of everybody as we can, let's go ahead and do this. And we're going to watch this race start from this perspective here. And look at that lineup of cars, folks. That is the race that we are about to see. Although hopefully with fewer cars clipping through each other. Although that's just it, the starting grid giving us some leniency. Otherwise, disaster would happen every race start. And for some reason, my track map's not showing. Why are you doing that? Get back there, silly. I'm actually very curious why. I think I know why it's doing that. Never mind. Here, this is going to be a little jarring, but I just want to see if it's fixed now. No, it's not re-enabling that like it's supposed to. That's weird. Let's see if I can fix that here just in the last couple of minutes. Ah, I lost the source for some reason. Why'd you do that? Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Huh, it doesn't see it. That's very weird. Huh. Yeah, I don't know why it doesn't see it, but I have run out of time to try and fix it because we are rounding the final corner here as the grid has lined up double file, and Steve Poe has spun around and now has to race back up to his starting position before he is penalized for it, but he is very quickly running out of time here. It looks like he's going to be able to get back up there before the green flag waves, but as we are about to get the race started, a huge thank you to everybody who helped make this season happen, and we are now just waiting for the final green flag to wave of this season, and there it goes, the flag drops, and the final race of the season is underway and is going to be led off by John Casagina out in front, just barely nosing out, and there's contact between him and Jeff Spangler, already trading paint, nobody pulling punches as this is the race that everything comes down to. But John Casagina looking like he's already growing a bit of a gap there. Xu Chen and Aiden Hasselbrock very close to one another as well. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and get the cameras on them as Casagina starts to grow a little bit of a gap already now coming up the hill. And there's a huge pile up in the second corner. Oh my goodness. What on earth has happened? Look at that grid, ladies and gentlemen. And there are only a couple of survivors as half the field is yellow flagged in the first lap of this race. And now we are just watching the survivors here as the pit lane gets fuller and fuller. And I don't know if we can tolerate another race start. That is going to be a horrendous start to this final race of the season. A lot of people in the pits now. And it'll be very interesting to see what happens, but this race is going to continue. It looks like Jeff Spangler is able to hang on to Casagina, but a bit of a battle is growing behind Andrew Sear here as the front of the grid is still racing on. Let's actually ride on board here with Evan Toth, who's chasing down Andrew Sear. And he is going to be trying to make that pass happen. No room on the inside for the Lexus driver as he is chasing down the Porsche, but he has also got pressure behind him that we can't see in his rear view mirrors. But he also has the Audi of Michael Yaknis right behind him that he's got to think about. We've got actually almost a 6-car train here battling out for 4th place. Michael Yaknis got a great view of the action here. They're all trying to catch up to Matt Byrne, who is currently up in P3. And that is going to be very, very good news for him as Xu Chen is not around to be seen. Oh, and right there we actually see it looks like Ryan Yee looking for a move on the inside. Let's get eyes on that. Steve Poe also very close there. That's going to be Ryan Garrity fending him off. Oh, and Steve Poe gets passed on the outside. Looks like the BMW able to get a little bit more power down there. Neither car looking like they did at the start of this race. Definitely rubbed some paint off there. But it does look like Ryan Garrity is going to make the move happen. Well, let's go ahead and head back to this battle growing behind Evan Toth. Really a 5-car battle for 4th place. And look at that train of cars, ladies and gentlemen. Let me get to the other battle here. We'll pull that up there. We'll do this. I'll try and watch both of these battles. Right now, it's going to be Ryan Garrity trying to fend off Ryan Gee. The battle of the Ryans, if you will. New fastest lap going to come from Casagina there, going to set, what was that, a 144.742. Ooh, and Steve Poe off wide there a little bit. Manages to get it back in. Now Ryan Yee up the inside of Ryan Garrity. Let's see, it's going to be a drag race, which the Porsche does not lend itself well to, but he is wheel to wheel coming into the first corner, gets on the brakes later, and makes the move happen on the inside. Now Steve Poe wants a piece. Oh, and just there, we actually see a pass happen. Let's see, Andrew Sear on the inside is going to be battling it out, wheel to wheel, door to door with Evan Toth, and it looks like the Porsche behind gets unsettled and just mobbed by the rest of the field, and there's contact between him and Ben Burchett. And it looks like Ben Burchett spun off the track this final race. Nobody is pulling their punches, as we now have another yellow flag waving as Ben Burchett tries to get back on the track. And Xu Chen now out in front of this battle between Ryan Yee and Ryan Garrity as that battle rages on. Well, when I said action-packed, I did not know that this is what we were signing up for, but that is exactly what we have gotten, folks. An action-packed race, not even 5 laps into this race, and half of the field has been through the pits at least once. Aiden Hasselbrock picking up another position there. Let's go ahead and take a look at Steve Poe, who's closing up on Ryan Garrity now. And just behind them, you can see Rob Jacques get spun around. I'm not sure if that's as a result of contact, but the slow-passing BMW there may be suggesting that's what's happened there. The yellow flag now just cleared, and Aiden Hasselbrock catching up to Steve Poe now. And a stop-and-go 30 is handed out to the 999 car of Andre Afonso for speeding in the pit lane. It looks like Steve Poe is going to get the pass there done with a little traded paint there with Ryan Garrity. Now Aiden Hasselbrock in the McLaren behind wants a piece of him. Now up the hill, Hayden Hasselbrock. Let's see if he can get a better run down the back straight. Oh, it's going to be very close there. Steve Poe looks like he gets a rough run of it. And now it is going to be 3 wide. All 3 cars nearly wheel to wheel. It looks like Ryan Garrity slipping back just a little bit, but Aiden Hasselbrock getting out in front of it. And I think Steve Poe may have backed out there a little bit. I'm not sure, but I think anybody would have been scared of that entire situation. Let's look up the grid, though, at Michael Yakinis putting the pressure on on Evan Toth there, excuse me. And you see looking up the inside, getting a little impatient, no room to make the pass happen, coming around the boot of the heel of the boot, excuse me. That Audi is getting very close though, folks. Rounding the corner now into the second to final corner. The Audi looking left and right, looking for any room to try and make that pass happen, is just running out of options, and that is allowing Xu Chen to catch up. New fastest lap of the race from Casagina, excuse me, a 144. A little bit off his previous pace. And Jeff Spangler still managing to hang on to him, only a second and a half behind him. But the battle to watch here is the battle between Evan Toth and Michael Yakinis, as Xu Chen gets very close to Michael Yakinis after a rough corner there. And that is going to allow Xu Chen up the inside, now the outside, going up the hill through the S's. And he is still behind Michael Yakinis there. It is going to be a drag race between the two of them into the inner loop. And Andrew Sear starting to catch up to them now. Looks like they're going to go through single file and into the outer loop. He gets on the inside a little bit, goes Xu Chen. Now Andrew Sear on his rear bumper. So let's go ahead and do this. And right on board with Andrew Sear as we watch him start to put the pressure onto Xu Chen coming around the toe of the boot. Both drivers looking to make a recovery. Shu Chen starting P3, Andrew Sear starting P5, and we know he needs those positions to try and hang on to his P5 overall. Very important battle for him. And just in front of it, we can see Michael Yaknis putting the pressure back on Evan Toth, who are also both catching up to, or no, excuse me, that's a lapped car there out in front of them. Oh, who is out on the dirt, I believe, just trying to get out of the way of the passing traffic. Certainly one way to do it. Oh, and we got to take a look at this. Michael Yaknis going for a lunge, does not have the room to make it happen. Shu Chen going off a little bit wide there just behind him, but now the battle is between these two, Evan Toth and Michael Yaknis. We'll see last lap there, Michael Yaknis with a bit of an advantage on Evan Toth. Both of them having great drives so far. Evan Toth up P3 from up to P4 from P7. And Michael Yaknis in P5 starting from P8. And he is still getting towed around by the Lexus out in front, who is just making it exceptionally difficult for the Audi to pass him from behind. It has now turned into a game of patience between these two to see who is going to make the mistake first. And something I'd like to bring the attention, or to the attention of everybody watching, we are only 10 minutes into this race, folks. Not well, just now 5 laps in. And we can see now just how close it is between these two. The Audi looks on the inside. Let's go ahead and actually let's ride on board here with Andrew Sear. And we can see now in the rear view, Shu Chen right on his rear bumper, getting the tow down the straight. Looking on the inside, will he go for the lunge on the brakes? He does. Stabs them late. Now they are too wide coming around turn 1 and somehow managed to hang on to traction. Now Andrew Sear in the rear view mirror as they go too wide around turn 3. Actually looks like Shu Chen, oh, just behind him. Unable to make the pass happen. Andrew Sear has to lift to avoid making contact. And into the inner loop now. It's like Evan Toth just hanging on for, Michael Yaknis hanging on for dear life. So let's actually, let me find where my mouse is at, and let's hop in the car behind with Shu Chen, who's currently trying to catch up to him. Right now, Shu Chen trying to fend off Andrew Sear, really putting the pressure on him. As we can see, that train of cars coming down the straight and into the toe. The boot, heel. I can talk. I know English well. New fastest lap has yet to break into the 143s. It's going to be a 144.445 from John Casagina. And right now, this is the battle to watch. As we are currently watching right now, the battle for P5 currently being held by Michael Yaknis. Excuse me, it's more of a battle for P4, really. Evan Toth at the front of it, followed by Michael Yaknis, Shu Chen, and Andrew Sear. All with remarkably similar pace. Coming around the outer loop now, Michael Yaknis starting to close up on Evan Toth. And Andrew Sear starting to get a little closer still. Does look like Evan Toth just a hair faster, but a rough entry there is going to allow Michael Yaknis to snug up on the rear bumper. No room for him to make the pass happen. But now with the toe down the hill into the heel of the boot, let's see if he's able to make the move happen. It's just got to be brave, but runs out of room as the Lexus is just far enough ahead to keep him out of it. And look at that train of Porsches, all but one of them included in this battle here. Evan Toth doing a decent job of fending off Michael Yaknis still. But Michael Yaknis is starting to get impatient, looking at the inside going into the inner loop. Excuse me one second, folks. Need to turn my fan on myself because it is heating up in this room like it is on the track right now. Oh, and Xu Chen runs a little wide, and that allows Andrew Sear right up behind him. Now it's Xu Chen on the defensive. You can see there Ross Sparrow starting to catch up to the pack. A little bit of a gap growing between these two. Evan Toth also still trying to fend off Michael Yaknis as they come around the second to final bend now. Let's see how their time comparisons stack up this lap. So it does look there. Man, that is remarkably close with Michael Yaknis sitting at 145.995, followed by Evan Toth's slightly faster 145.927. And that is crazy impressive. They've been able to stay glued to each other like this for so long. But it looks like Michael Yaknis is about over it. Looks on the outside there, maybe trying to line up a better exit through the inner loop. But no room to make it happen. That Lexus is just impossible to pass. This battle for fourth still raging on 20 minutes into the race. And really it is kind of undecided who's going to finish where. All five drivers we have on screen practically stacked on top of one another, but Michael Yaknis runs a little wide there. Exiting the boot, we've got a yellow flag there. That's not a real yellow flag, so we'll ignore it. Go ahead and take this as an opportunity kind of to check in on our race leaders. John Casagina still has a healthy lead to second place, almost 5 seconds on Jeff Spangler in second place, going into the inner loop right now. Still having a very strong race. Best lap just shy of a half second off of Casagina in third. Matt Byrne having a race that he needs right now for his third place finishing standings. Needs to finish ahead of Xu Chen, which right now he is on track to do. which brings us back to 4th place behind Evan Toth. We've been watching this battle for a while. We'll hop back Ross Sparrow there in P8, trying to catch up. He can see that pack just in front of him, just has to close the gap. Ryan Yee there, coming around the bend just a little bit behind him, followed by, looks like that was Ben Burchett. No, he's got lap traffic between the two of them, but that is our top 10. Let's go ahead and take a look at their best laps as well, or not best, relative, personal best. There we go. To give you an idea of the best lap times out of some of our drivers, Xu Chen may be getting held up a little bit. Currently has a faster lap time than some of the cars he's around. But I can say the same about Andrew Sear. And then just to give you an idea of where they're all finishing on the day, this pack, both having good days and bad days. It looks like Ryan Yee making his way up the grid 15 positions. The absolute madman. But now Xu Chen getting back into this battle for 4th place, right on the back there of Michael Yaknis and Andrew Sear as well, getting involved again. This is what I was talking about when we were getting ready for qualifying earlier today, is that this is going to be a remarkably difficult track to pass on, and that was why qualifying was so important. So these drivers that have gotten early advantages, both from the huge crash at the beginning of this race, as well as the drivers behind, making an excellent job, or making excellent use of their time, gaining those positions. Because as you can see, once they get stacked up like this, where the pace is pretty similar, it can be almost impossible to make those passes happen. And we were kind of seeing that on display as we have been watching these drivers for at least the last 15 minutes. And really, we've just been watching them rubber band between each other. The pressure is definitely on Xu Chen. Needs to get around these cars and move his way up the grid if he is going to hang on to I believe P4 overall right now. That is correct. And there's only a 40-point spread between him and Ross Sparrow in P5. So he has got to be careful here, although he is ahead of Ross Sparrow, so that's not so much of a concern. Andrew Sear starting to get close on Xu Chen, and it looks like he's looking for a way around. But that Audi is not going to make it easy for him. Going into the inner loop, they're practically on top of each other. And I will keep an eye on them as they're in the red zone, excuse me, but Ben Burchett also under some pressure here from Aiden Hasbrock. Excuse me, folks, I've got the hiccups. Coming into the inner loop, these two battling it out for P10. And both drivers looking to hang on to these positions. Ben Burchett looking to hang on to the top 10 qualifying and race finish. Aiden Hasbrock looking to make up a lot of positions here. Let's ride on board with Aiden Hasbrock here. Get an idea of what he is doing. Here we go. Oop, wrong view. There we go. As we watch him make a pass, maybe on the inside. Oh, and there's just slight contact. It looks like the McLaren gets on the inside of that Porsche and just nudges him out of the way, and we can see the blinkers there in the rear view. Oh, and then there's more contact between the two of them as the Porsche goes into the back of the McLaren there under the brakes. Let's actually hop back a car into Ben Burchett's Porsche. Not a remarkably good lap for either one of them, but just as we say that, I've got to get out of here because Michael Yaknis now closing up on Evan Toth again. And maybe looking to make the pass happen. Runs out of room into the inner loop, gets a little bit loose there. We call that slip angle. And now goes for the inside, but the Lexus blocks it off. Let's ride on board here with the Audi driver. We can see Xu Chen right behind him. Up and around the toe here. And we can see now as we're riding along with this Audi just how there is no room to make passes happen around some of these corners. So you either got to be right on top of them or try to be capitalizing on a mistake there. As we see as they close in on that apex, you just run out of room. Looks nice and spacious from the TV cameras, but once you're in the car, it's an entirely different picture. We can see Michael Yaknis kind of yo-yoing a little bit behind Evan Toth here. And it is that same lineup of 4 that we have seen, but this is where things get interesting, folks, is we now have a 10-minute pit window where all of the drivers are required to go in and refuel, and tires are optional. And if you're asking me, though, if you're refueling, doesn't cost any time, or it doesn't really cost you much time to throw a fresh set of tires on. You're just kind of counting on the rest of the teams to do the same. So we will definitely be watching to see who does what. And it looks like Ben Burchett going to be the first car into the pits, as is Ryan Garrity. And I'll throw this up so we can keep an eye on who is in pit lane. Right now, Ben Burchett going to be our first one. And we also have Ryan Garrity and Juan Martins working their way down pit lane. Yep, and now we're gonna start to see the leaderboard do some weird, silly things while everybody gets through their pit stop. I don't know why it's moved Juan Martins to first place, but that is certainly not accurate. And it looks like, as I was looking away, ooh, both Audis there getting a little bit loose, but in a different order than the last time I looked at them. It looks as though Xu Chen has gotten around the outside, and so Michael Yaknis going to opt to go into the pits and maybe get an undercut on the competing Audi driver. It does look like Ryan Garrity going to be the first one off of the jacks there, as we can see Michael Yaknis pulling in behind him. We should also see, yep, Juan Martins making his way down pit lane. Got 32-second pit stop for Ryan Garrity, so he has taken tires. $37 for Juan Martins. So he is likely also taken tires. 33. That was Zach Doran, but I believe that was served earlier in the race. Michael Yaknis, 32.8 seconds, will have taken tires. Aiden Hasselbrock making his way out the track now. Serving his mandatory pit stop with 33.3 second pit stop there, so I believe he will have also taken tires. Looks like most of the field opting to get some fresh rubber on the cars. Looks like this pack has caught back up to Evan Toth. Andrew Sear and Shu Chen both. And so now what will be very interesting to see is who does what as far as their pit strategy is concerned. These two very close, coming up and around the hill now. The Porsche maybe getting a bit of a tow, looks on the inside. And like we've been seeing most of today, thinks better of trying to force a pass there. But really has a rough time there through the inner loop, and now has some catch-up to play as Steve Poe headed into the pits, as is Zach Doran. Oh, and a yellow flag for Andrew Sear. Oh no, he's spun around on the track at the exit of the inner loop and is now trying to get it back on the track. And that is not going to be good for his championship finishing hopes here, now sitting down in P8. Not sure if that was a result of contact or whatever it was that just happened there, but yeah. Andrew Sear not going to be happy about that one. Still, that said, qualified in P5, is currently sitting in P8. Not a terrible finish, but he certainly will be thirsty for more. I'm sure he'll be heading into the pits soon to get those tires traded out. It's like Steve Poe, Stubby McNubby in the pits now. Ryan Yee on his way into the pits. Man, we have been getting a lot of these two today, as they have just had very, very remarkable pace, or similar pace, excuse me. Yes, remarkable, but remarkably similar, as they have pretty much been racing in the same pack since the race started, and have been the closest, tightest battle all day. So that is why we have been watching these two, Shu Chen and Evan Toth, both get an A+ for consistency today. That is for sure. Ryan Yee out of the pits into 8th place. Andrew Sear into the pits now. Or excuse me, Andrew Sear making his way out of the pits, I should say. And it looks like he's going to feed out right in front of that Audi in P9. Now has some work to do. We've got Ryan Yee catching up to Michael Yaknis now. And actually, I'm going to click on Michael Yaknis here because I want to see where it thinks he'll come out when he goes into the pits. Should give me a prediction, but Ryan Yee really applying some pressure here. Says he should come out of the pits in P7. So it'll be interesting to see if he's able to hang on to that. Ross Sparrow and Shu Chen both into the pits now. And Ryan Yee right on the back of that Audi there. It's going to be Michael Yaknis' Audi, excuse me. Just a quarter second between the two of them now. Go ahead, and we're going to ride on board here with Ryan Yee as he tries to make another pass happen. Turn 16 into 17 with Michael Yaknis in the crosshairs now. Let me do that, get that camera view up. There we go. Watch them up the hill through the S's, now back onto the back straight. Fun fact about that high-pitched whining we can hear in this car, it is actually not the turbo, it is the gearbox that you are hearing from that, from the middle of that Porsche. straight cut gears in the gearbox. They make a little extra noise. Oh, but it looks like a rough line there for Michael Yackness is going to allow Ryan Yee to get around the inside, and he is going to get on the brakes early there and let Ryan Yee pass. And he turns it into 18 positions on the day. Although he still has a pit stop to, oh, and actually we've got some very interesting developments in pit lane there. It's like Jeff Spangler into the pits, as well as Casagina and Matt Byrne, who's just stopped there. Evan Toth rolling down pit lane right now. But Casagina let out of the pit lane there. Watch him make his way around. Jeff Spangler now on his way out, not far behind him. What is the gap there? We'll know shortly. It looks like just shy of 8 seconds. And they actually had identical pit stop times there, with 32.5 for Casagina and 32.5 for Jeff Spangler, but even more impressive, 32.5 for Matt Byrne. Evan Toth out of the pits, a 34.1 second pit stop. And for some reason, it has not applied all of their pit stops correctly, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. I'll keep an eye on it for a couple of laps. Michael Yackness not letting Ryan Yee just get away with an easy pass, has closed back up on him and actually makes a pass on him. And then yields it back just because the Porsche had the inside line there and gets very loose and overcooks it through there and puts it into the wall, allowing for a pass from Michael Yackness as well as Ross Sparrow. And that is going to be a costly mistake in the inner loop there for Ryan Yee. And I'm going to go ahead and clear that out of the way just because it does not seem to have kept track of it accurately. But I can see that everybody's cleared their mandatory pits, so we'll just go ahead and move those out of our way there. Andrew Sear and Ben Burchett, or excuse me, not Ben Burchett, Aiden Hasbrock starting to get into it now. Catching up to Ryan Yee after that mistake. That gap is getting closer. Andrew Sears certainly, oh my goodness, and then the Porsche runs wide, and that can only be a result of that front end damage it must have sustained there. And yeah, he is going to go into the pits to have that repaired. And Andrew Sear moves it back up into P8. Got 23 minutes left to move 3 positions up on the grid. We'll see if he's able to make it happen. Aiden Hasselbrock, ooh, both of them run a little bit wide. Porsche a bit wider out. Now down the back straight. I don't believe he has the legs to make that happen. Michael Yackness looks like white flagged there. Must have just been a rough exit. But Evan Toth starting to close up on Xu Chen in a developing battle for 4th place. Oh, and actually just out in front of them, we've got an interesting battle. Looks like some lapped traffic there behind, let's see, that's Ryan Garrity and Max Sunthenlap, who are not currently in contention with one another. And followed by, whose Honda is that? Let's see if I can read the car number when it comes around. Still no luck. Come on, ACC, help me out. It's not gonna help me. We'll watch these 3 try and battle it out. Should be interesting. We're not really sure what all of their relative paces are, but Max Sunthenlap goes for a pass on the outside there. Doesn't quite make it stick. There we go. That's the 999 Honda. That's the Honda of Andre Alfonso there. Oh, and it looks like Max Suntenlap gets on the inside corner there. Ooh, and barely manages to save it. That was some impressive car control there from Max Suntenlap. But Evan Toth and Xu Chen really starting to close up on him as they are catching up to this battle we were just watching. And so we will keep an eye on these two, as I'm sure it is going to turn into these 5 here pretty quick. Although, that said, Aiden Hasselbrock getting very close to Andrew Sear now. Now he's getting a bit of a tow down the straight from Andrew Sear. And we're going to change perspectives here so we can keep an eye on Xu Chen and Evan Toth. As they are getting ever closer to that grid just in front of them, or that pack just in front of them, excuse me. Both drivers really pushing as hard as they can. Not a lot of time in this race left as we watch the 20-minute marker lapse. And it does look like Aiden Hasselbrock has a bit of pace on Andrew Sear in this battle here. So it will be interesting to see how long he can fend him off. Now just a quarter second separating them coming up and around the S's. McLaren looking for any way to get around him, but decides to try and get the tow. Oh, and there's contact. Somehow both cars managed to maintain control. Oh, and that was a very risky move from the McLaren, looking for any way to get around him, just getting in the head of the Porsche, trying to force a mistake, almost causing a bit of a crash. And actually looking at those cars, that may have just been a netcode bump there, so it may not have actually happened, but that was quite the interesting little series of corners there for these two drivers. We will tune back in with Xu Chen here in just a little bit, but I don't want to miss the opportunity to watch the onboard of these two. So let's go ahead and do that. And we're going to ride on board with Aiden Hasselbrock as he tries to chase down Andrew Sear. Coming around the heel of the boot now, up the hill. And man, that McLaren really can carry a lot of speed through these corners, but that Porsche just can rotate so well. And it shows around some of these medium corner bends. That is where Andrew Sear is finding the time. But that McLaren is like driving a rocket ship. Once it gets on the straights, it usually can start to close the gap. And we can see Aiden Hasselbrock just almost 6 kilometers an hour faster down that straight than the Porsche out in front, but overcooks it through turn 1 and is going to run it out wide. But Andrew Sear able to grow a bit of a gap, but late on the brakes there, Aiden Hasselbrock tries to go for a move, and it looks like, I don't know what just happened to Andrew Sear there. We're gonna risk an instant replay, but it looks like he was fine and maybe just got a bit of a bump on the, oh no, he loses the back end, and it just understeers off the track. And that is going to spell disaster for Andrew Sear's race. Now sitting in P9. Evan Toth really starting to put the pressure now on Xu Chen, who is in the red zone inside a half second of him. And they are also catching up to traffic, so the pressure is really on Xu Chen to try and grow a gap here, rather than potentially have to gamble on passing lapped traffic. Ben Burchett starting to put some pressure on Andrew Sear as well. We'll keep an eye on that. And the blue flags are waving for Xu Chen. He has gotten within a second of Max Sunkenlap now. And Ben Burchett getting very close to Andrew Sear, so we'll watch that like this. Actually, as I say that, there we go. Brings them both back into frame. Let's ride along with Max Sunkenlap here. Actually, Andre Alfonso being the one to watch. A lap down and still pushing on the BMW out in front. I believe that's Ryan Garrity. And just, yep, for confirmation, that is Ryan Garrity out in front. And Andre Alfonso trying to make the pass happen. And looking at their last laps, he might have the pace to make it happen. Ben Burchett starting to close that gap down, trying to keep it within a half second of Andrew Sear, and he's doing an excellent job. And Andre Alfonso looks for a pass on the inside in turn one, and I think he's going to make it happen. And unlaps himself from one car. And allowing Max Sunkenlap to get right on the back of Ryan Garrity. Looks like a good run up through the S's there for the BMW driver. And with the blue light illuminated in his cockpit, I'm sure he's definitely being reminded by his team that Xu Chen is approaching. That blue flag waves when he gets within a second. But we're going to take a break from this and look up to, Xu Chen and Evan Toth, as they are now back within the, oh my goodness, and we see a huge spin there from Andre Alfonso, puts it nose first into the wall, narrowly avoids Max Sunkenlap. And that is not the first collision we have seen like that, with the back end just trying to be the front end and putting drivers straight into the wall. And that was a huge hit there for Andre Alfonso. He will almost certainly have to put it into the pits to repair that damage. Now Xu Chen starting to close up on Max Sunkenlap. Two green sectors last lap. That just means those were personal bests for Max Sunkenlap. So he is continuing to find pace this late into the race. Just 13 minutes remaining. But pretty soon here, he's going to have to compromise somewhere, because he is not allowed to defend the pass there from Xu Chen. If you're used to watching F1, where you are obligated to get out of the way within a set number of turns if a blue flag is waved on you in GT car. Oh my goodness! And there's a huge miscommunication between Xu Chen and Max Sunkenlap, and Xu Chen goes right into the back of the BMW. And that is going to end the race of Max Sunkenlap and allow Evan Toth to get out in front of Xu Chen. And I am not sure what happened there, but that is a very damaged Audi, and I'm sure a very angry driver inside of it. And Max Sunkenlap going to have the car towed. There is no way to continue his race. Oh, and actually looks like Max Sunkenlap has a little bit of a power slide there, but now Xu Chen having to defend from Ross Sparrow with a very damaged Audi, and I don't know that there's going to be much he can do about it. as he essentially now has to limp that car around the track for the remainder of the race. He's got to make it last 11.5 minutes and either not pit or just fend off as many people as he can. Now, he may not see this right now, but he does have a sizable gap after Aiden Hasselbrock to Andrew Sear in P9. So may be able to squeeze out a P8 even if he lets these two cars through. But he is going to have a challenging race there, as actually we watch Aiden Hasselbrock overcook it coming around the final bend there. Andre Alfonso coming off the jacks after his repairs. We've got a yellow flag on the field. Steve Poe, I think it was a fake one, so we'll get back to Shu Chen and Ross Sparrow. Whoops, there we go. And Ross Sparrow going the long way around the corner, but being in a Porsche does not quite have the speed to stay out in front of that Audi, even with all of its aero damage to the front. Looks to the inside to try and force a pass. Cannot make it happen this lap. And Aiden Hasselbrock now right on his tail. We can see that Audi is just struggling to rotate now. Most of that damage being sustained to the front of the car. And that understeer has just got to be vicious right now, and I'm sure he is having nothing but time to think about it now, as he has two cars in his rear view mirror looking to get around him. We've got another yellow flag waving in the outer loop, and it does unfortunately look like it's going to be Andre Alfonso who gets the car moving again. And we are now inside the 10-minute mark, folks. We are almost to the end of this season, and we have certainly had an exciting race to end it on, as we are watching Shu Chen holding on by the skin of his teeth for a 6th place finish, as he has suffered a massive impact to the front of his car after a miscommunication with some lap traffic, and is currently fighting tooth and nail to hang on to P6, as he now has Aiden Hasselbrock and Ross Sparrow right alongside him. It is going to be wheel to wheel between the McLaren and the Audi into turn 1. The Audi's got the inside and forces the McLaren off, but the Porsche gets a great exit into turn 2. Let's see if he can force the issue there, and he does get the inside. Shu Chen holding off Aiden Hasselbrock, but he stays in front of them both, and it is wheel to wheel between the Porsche and the McLaren coming down the back straight. The Audi struggling for grip, but staying out in front of the McLaren, trying to make the pass, and he's going to make it happen on the outside. They make contact between the wheels going into the inner loop, and the McLaren makes it out in front of Shu Chen in a very complicated battle between the two of them. And now he has not Andrew Sear, Ross Sparrow to contend with, as Aiden Hasselbrock makes his getaway drive from this battle between the two of them. Now around the entry to the boot, coming up into the toe. Let's see how much longer Shu Chen can hang on to this position. We can see Ross Sparrow getting very close to him on the inside there. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's ride on board with him. Oh, yeah, we can tell that Audi has got some damage, because he has got so much less speed going through some of these corners than the Porsche behind him does. And there's really nothing he can do about that. But that said, he is not blue flagged. He is not a lap down. Shu Chen is absolutely entitled to fight for every position he can hang on to. And he has 7 3/4 minutes left to try and do that. And we can see he is really pushing that car as hard as he can, abusing the track limits, looking for those no-timed gains. But that Porsche has got some speed. He looks to the inside and runs out of room, gets on the brakes and allows the Audi out in front. Now it's going to go into turn 2 and through the S's. We see Shu Chen staying out wide as long as he can to try and carry as much speed as he can, knowing he doesn't have the grip in the front to get the Audi to rotate, but the Porsche is closing on him. He looks to the outside, and it is going to be a drag race between a damaged Audi and a Porsche, and it looks like it'll be wheel to wheel all the way to the end. Who will break last? And it looks like the Audi stays out in front into the inner loop. This battle is not over yet, folks. Coming around the outer loop, another place where the Porsche is going to be able to carry more speed, but just does not have the room to get around the Audi. Now into the boot. And that Audi is really struggling in the low-speed corners. We can see just how much the Porsche is having to back off. But he is doing an excellent job of defending, and a bit of a mistake there. The Audi outbrakes himself a little bit and runs wide. The Porsche almost has enough room to make it. And there he is on the rear bumper again, going into the heel. And this battle is going to continue on. Coming up around the third to last corner, now into the second to last corner. 30 laps into this race, 6 minutes remaining, and these two are fighting for a 7th place finish. Xu Chen runs off wide there. The Porsche's got the speed to try to make a lunge on the outside, runs out of room as the Audi gets right in the way there. And we now have another drag race down the start-finish straight. Into turn 1, the Audi goes to the inside, a preemptive defensive move. Let's see if it works for him. The Porsche has to go out wide, cuts in, and cannot get the power down in time to try and make a good cut back in. Now it goes into the S's. And they go... Yeah, and he is just glued to him. No room to try and make the pass happen, but he is going to try on the outside again. Maybe look for the cut back in. Xu Chen doing an excellent job of managing that very damaged Audi. The Porsche has to run real inside there and gets unsettled. And buys Xu Chen there just a little bit more breathing room. Now 5 minutes remaining in this race. And just behind them, a battle between Ben Burchett and Andrew Sear is beginning to develop. So we will keep an eye on them as well. Ross Sparrow doing a phenomenal job of staying behind Xu Chen and waiting for an opportunity to pass. He has been trying to capitalize on as many as he can, but he is doing it without causing any accidents. But he is running out of time as we are about to fall underneath the 4-minute mark of this race. And this is actually a very important battle because right now, these two are P4 and P5 in the standings. Now, granted, it looks like Xu Chen has about a 30-point lead on Ross Sparrow. With them in, let's see, Xu Chen hangs on to the pass there. Let's see, P7 and P8. Let's see what those point differences are. Ooh, actually, I think regardless of who passes who here, Xu Chen may hang on to his position. It'll be close. My mental math's not good enough to do that on the fly. But it will be close, but it is still a consequential battle between these two as they are in contention in the points going into this final race of the championship. Oh, and there's contact between Andrew Sear and Ben Burchett that we catch just off the side there, and both cars into the wall. As we watch them get it sorted out, Ben Burchett's car does not look pretty. Andrew Sear is not much better with the hood bent up. And with 3 minutes remaining in this race, one more accident finds its way in between Ben Burchett and Andrew Sear. And Andrew Sear should be safe in the points here and should still hang on to his 6th place finish as long as he finishes the race. And as we watch Ross Sparrow go for a lunge on the outside, he finally makes the move, but Xu Chen on the inside is able to get the power down just a little bit sooner. Now up the hill into the third to final corner. The Porsche has the apex. Can he get the speed down the outs? He goes the long way around, and they are still wheel to wheel, but it looks like the move is going to get made, and Ross Sparrow finally makes the pass happen after about 10 laps of these two going wheel to wheel around so many corners. As the 2-minute mark passes there, the pass is going to get made there by by Ross Sparrow, moving him up into P7, making him 3 positions up on the day. And now it is just a question to see how much more pace he has and see how long Xu Chen can hang on to that 1 second gap. That Audi is very damaged so that he was able to keep the car moving fast enough to hold off Ross Sparrow for another position. Really does speak to his ability as a driver and why he scores so well in the championship. Looking at very likely a 4th place finish this season. But the leader is on the final lap here to round out this final race here at Delta Racing League. John Casagina is going to finish this race in 1st place, short of an absolute catastrophe. As about, I believe that is a 12-second gap to Jeff Spangler, so not much to worry about there. Actually, we'll throw him up over here. The battles are more or less over at this point. And it has definitely been an exciting race, and this is going to be our championship leader here. We are watching John Casagina in the 911. And as long as he doesn't spin the car and leave it off the track for about 10 seconds, he will finish 1st place in this race and in the standings overall. In a very, very well-driven season. Certainly not to be forgotten, though, Jeff Spangler in 2nd place has had a lot of very strong finishes this season. Will hang on to his 2nd place in the points overall, and I actually believe Matt Byrne will also stay in 3rd place. You can see him in the background of that shot of Jeff Spangler there. But John Casagina going to round the final corner of Watkins Glen and close this season 10 at Delta Racing League here at Watkins Glen. Will finish the race in 1st place and finish the championship in 1st place as well. Coming across the line right behind him is going to be Jeff Spangler, getting his last celebration moment in there in his BMW. Coming across the line there is going to be Matt Byrne in a well-deserved P3 finish in the 333 McLaren. We'll finish 3rd place overall. Evan Toth will be the next one to cross the line and will finish in P4. And he crosses the line in 4th place. Michael Yaknis coming around the final bend now. Up 3 positions on the day. Will finish in P5 here at Watkins Glen. And that'll be followed by Aiden Hasselbrock, finishing in a well-earned P6. Ross Sparrow coming around the final bend now. And he will cross the line to finish in P7 in our final race. And Xu Chen, the trooper, crosses the line and will be in P8 after a very hard-fought battle to finish his race, and he will do what everybody I think else would do in his position and put it right into the wall. Ben Burchett crossing the line in P9. And Andrew Sear, also a challenging race, will finish in P10 to round out the top 10 of this race. But that will do it, ladies and gentlemen. The season finale, what everything is building up to, the final race here at Watkins Glen, and what a phenomenal performance all of the drivers put on for us. I don't think I could have asked for the season to end in any more exciting of a manner. So for all of you who made it all the way through the race, or actually before I do that, let's go ahead and just go through our finishing grid there. Again, John Casagina will be finishing in 1st place overall and in the standings for this race, followed by Jeff Spangler in P2, Matt Byrne in P3, Evan Toth in P4, Michael Yaknis in P5, Aiden Hasselbrock in P6, Ross Sparrow in P7, Xu Chen in P8, Ben Burchett in P9, and Andrew Sear in P10 overall. And in the AM standing, Steve Poe takes 1st place, followed by Ryan Garrity in 2nd, Juan Martins in 3rd place, W. McNubby in 4th, Nico Roskosh in P5, and then people started leaving. Oh, no. And that's all I'm going to get because the standings switched over faster than I could read through them. But that is going to do it for our final race. To everybody who stuck around and watched through it, thank you so much for joining us. And for all of you who made it various times throughout the season, It was an absolute pleasure getting to hang out with all of you and watch some race cars race around some fun tracks together. We are going to be MIA for a short period of time while we get ready for the next season, and I'm sure we will announce on all of our social medias when we are getting ready to open signups for the next season. But if you are looking for more action here from Delta Racing League, on October 15th, we will be hosting a joint race between 3 partner leagues. It'll be us here at Delta Racing League, as well as Zealous Racing League and Apollo Racing Club, in a massive 50-car grid, if we can get enough people, at Suzuka for 6 hours, and we will be streaming it all here. So if that's something that you want to catch, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. You will get notifications when we are getting close. I'll try and send a couple notifications out about a week ahead of time so we can try and get as many people to show up for that race as possible. Share it with your friends. Let's get a massive number of people and really just show how much interest there is in sim racing broadcasting, because I seem to enjoy it, and it seems like all of you do too. So let's get as many people as we can. But that is going to do it for me for the evening and for this season. My name is Matt McAdams. Thank you for joining me here every weekend at Delta Racing League. I look forward to whenever the next season starts. And if I don't talk to any of you before then, I hope to see you on October 15th for our 6-hour of Suzuka race. You guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and I will see you next season.